We've lost Connor Mack for a sec, so when he comes back, we'll get his thoughts on this bowl game. But we have come to the college football playoff section of our show today. The first college football playoff semifinal. It's the Cotton Bowl, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Jerry Jones's Palace there, home of the Cowboys. Cincinnati Bearcats, Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama 13 and a half point favorites, 58 the total in this game. This is fascinating because obviously everybody saw Alabama just move the football at will against what we thought was the best defense in the country, Georgia. And they probably still are, but obviously they had their issues defending the speed at receiver for Alabama in that game, and it showed in that 41-24 victory. Just too many big plays down the field for Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, in the passing game to the likes of Jameson Williams, John Mechie before he got injured, and that's a significant injury for Alabama. John Mechie out for the rest of the season. But they had Slade Bolden was good, Jaleel Billingsley, very, very solid passing attack, strong, dynamic, explosive against, an outstanding Georgia defense. I could throw out a decent argument, though, that in terms of coverage down the field in the secondary, that Cincinnati might actually be more equipped to defend Alabama than Georgia. Now, you might think that's a little silly, but the one thing Georgia's had problems with in the Kirby Smart era last year, this year, covering speed down the field at wide receiver, sticking with receivers in one-on-one coverage. It's been a clear problem area and sore spot for Georgia the last couple of seasons. Whereas you look at Luke Fickell's Cincinnati team, they've had one of the best secondaries in college football the last couple of years. Pass defense has been one of their specialties. It's been one of their strengths. And if they're able to defend these Jameson Williams for particular, you won't have Mechie on the field. So it's going to be Williams, and then who's it going to be? Slade Bolden? Is it going to be Billingsley's going to probably have to get more targets and carry more of the load at the receiving position? Well, Cincinnati's probably on paper got a better, I think, a secondary that's at least more adept to cover receivers down the field than Georgia. So you factor that in with, I think, maybe a little bit of a point spread tax here with Alabama after that. Like, everybody saw them just destroy Georgia, a team that had been dominating and rolling teams all season. So I'm not sure this is value on Alabama. Now, is it a situation where, yeah, they dismantled Georgia, they're rolling, they're just going to roll in this game potentially, but for Cincinnati, this is everything. I expect, whatever you can do in this game, you throw out a trick play, you throw out a gadget play, you do something, unexpected that maybe catches Nick Saban and Alabama by surprise. You do it in a game like this. It's definitely a team that we have seen Cincinnati, in certain situations rise up and show that they can compete. I mean, obviously, this is a playoff. This is with a national championship on the line. That has to be factored in to the equation. There's no question. But we saw last year, now it wasn't a playoff game, but it was still a big-time bowl game against a big-time bowl opponent last year against Georgia for this Cincinnati team. And what was the final score of that game? 24-21, right down to the wire. They covered as 7.5-point dogs. Again, there's lots of time before this game takes place. It's New Year's Eve. It's lots of time for me to make my final decision, but I'm leaning the Bearcats right now, getting the number in this game. I think it's now a little bit of a point spread tax on the Alabama side. I'm worried about the Mechie injury. That's their number 2 guy at receiver. And now you can key in more on Williams. You're going to have to look for more from Bolden over the middle. You're going to have to hope Billingsley steps up. And like I said, Georgia's got the overall probably more complete defense than Cincinnati, but the absolute strength of Cincinnati defensively is the pass defense. It's the secondary. It's been that way the last couple of years that they've been, just right there on the edge, on the cusp of being a playoff team. It's been that secondary that's been locking opposing teams down. Just ask SMU, in that vaunted Tanner Mordecai attack. It was difficult to move that ball through the air, and that was almost exclusively through the air there, that team. And they struggled with it. So I think there's opportunities here for Cincinnati to be very competitive in this game. And I'm leaning dog right now with the first semifinal game in the Cotton Bowl. We got Conor back with us. Conor, I talked Arizona Bowl before when you dropped off the air for a second. Boise, Central Michigan. I'm leaning Central in that game. And we just talked Cincinnati, Alabama, the first semifinal. What are your thoughts on those games?
I don't know about the with Boise. Yeah, they're not a team I like laying these points with. Central Michigan played well down the stretch all year. The problem is Central Michigan's defense. They don't have a very good defense at all. So can they stop Boise? Yeah, the numbers right there. I wish we were getting more than 8. I don't know if that's enough. So that one's a pass for me. I think that game can get over. And Boise's got the better defense. So that's why it's tough for me just to jump on Central in that one. I don't know. We'll see. Cincinnati here, I lean that way. Their defense might keep them in this. I don't know if they'll be able to score much on Bama. We'll see. This Bama defense can step up in spots. Other times, I think it can be beat, and we saw it, this year. So I lean the points, but I don't love it with Cincinnati. Yeah, so I just lean with Cincinnati in there in that one.
Yeah, and like I said, you're selling high on Alabama. I'm not saying Alabama can certainly win and cover. Their best game could still
Yeah,
be a 14+ point margin of victory for them in this game. But you're selling. There's a tax now because there's definitely, if Alabama were to play Cincinnati here, they wouldn't, obviously, if they had lost to Georgia. But let's say they would have if they had lost to Georgia, or if they had lost to Georgia. I don't think they're laying as high as 13.5 in this game. It's because they looked so impressive against Georgia. They took apart what was supposed to be the best defense in college football in that SEC championship game, and now you're laying a little bit of a tax here with them in this game. So